Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualise, My Asexual Life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, what are you doing? Go and subscribe right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. So as you may know, this asexual channel, I got dating, relationships, love, life, and no sex movie reviews and other movie reviews. So today I'm going to be reviewing The Lost City, which was one of the movies I saw with an asexual friend for my birthday, which was the 24th of April. I have to say I'm seeing my best asexual friend this weekend, and we're going to be having more birthday celebrations. I'm going to be watching another movie. So anyway, if you haven't seen The Lost City, and you don't want to know what's in the film because you might be seeing it, then please do not watch this video as I'm going to spoil it for you, right? But if you do like spoilers, if you want to know what happens, if you're a person who's seen it already or not going to see it, then please continue to watch. So first of all, if you don't know who I am a Sandra Burney, author of this awesome Asexual Perspectives book. That's out on Amazon. And yes, let's get cracking. So in The Lost City, it stars Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum. Now, I absolutely love Channing Tatum because I have got a movie called Step Up, and he is one of the lead dancers in that movie. Very kind of handsome guy, if you like. Anyway, The Lost City, I think will probably get mixed reviews, and I'm going to tell you why. So it is a rom-com, it's a romantic comedy. And in general, I don't usually watch romantic comedies. I'm a very romantic asexual person. I love romance, but I tend to not watch films that are specifically romance genre. I prefer watching movies that have got a different storyline, with dance movies, for example, but have a romantic storyline intertwined with it. But the main feature, for example, in dance movies is the dance and dance competitions, battles, and all that lot. And then they've got a love story going on with that. So actually going to see a film that's specifically really geared towards being a love story and being romantic and funny at the same time is sort of not something I'd usually go and watch. Now, I went to see this movie with my friend Vanessa, and we were both looking at the movie in completely different points of view and aspects. So my friend Vanessa did not like the movie. She thought it was really boring, even fell asleep in it, and I don't blame her. I understand entirely because usually this would not be my type of movie. However, because the main character, who Sandra Bullock plays, is a writer and it's all about writing books, then I am a writer myself and was looking at it from a writing perspective, and I found it very good in that way because I was analysing all the writing stuff, and I just also love the moral of the tale, the messages in the movie. So I'm kind of like, yes, I can see why it would be boring to a lot of people. I can see why, there'd be times when it's not very action-packed. But in terms of the actual storyline, in terms of writing, for me, it was amazing in that way. Because I just love it when books come to life, right? I just love that kind of thing. Because when I write books myself, I tend to write non-fiction books predominantly. They change lives. So mine's based on non-fiction. Sandra Bullock's character is based on fictional romance, which, as they say in the movie, is the top-selling genre in books. So if you're going to want to create a profession that's going to be quite lucrative in money, and you're specifically more aimed at money rather than the audience, if you like, if you create romance novels, they tend to sell the best, and that's how you can create a career and get more money in, if money is your aim. I write books that change lives. I'm more motivated to change lives rather than money. I always will be that way inclined, right? And obviously romance books can change people's lives in the sense that they can make them feel special and magical, and maybe they can go into a fantasy world and escape their own life and stuff like that. But I always prefer personally to write non-fiction predominantly, because I believe that's where true change happens, because you're learning from other people's real life experiences rather than a dream world or a fallacy or something made up, right? So I'm also pleased to say that Sandra Bullock's character is sapiosexual. And this comes across very much in the beginning of the movie. Now, sapiosexual person is someone who experiences sexual attraction once intelligence attraction is present. They have to be intelligently attracted to someone to be sexually attracted to them, usually. So, yes, they feel sexual attraction once they've intelligently connected with someone. So, in the beginning of this movie, Sandra Bullock is a writer. Sandra Bullock's character, is a writer. And Sandra Bullock's character, who's this writer, is pretty much, as you've seen in quite a lot of movies, no doubt, is that she's trying to write a book and she's really, really stuck. And, they need her to finish the book. The agent needs her, the promoter needs her to finish the book. And so, she's trying to finish the book. This is when it starts and she's having a lot of problems. She's become a recluse, indoors a lot, and this is partly because of a husband that died. And so she's become a bit of a recluse, become withdrawn, not really going on any adventures in her own life, only through the words of her characters, and her characters go through adventures. She is leading a very boring life, right? So there's a lot of deeper stuff in this movie that I conned onto because of the writing aspect, which was, like the writer, the character that she played as a writer is really, in terms of writing, the main characters are having lots of wild love, passionate adventures. And, they're really dealing with a lot of hard things and they're having excitement in their life and passion. But when it comes to her own life, it's kind of very boring. She's a recluse. She's not really doing much with her life, like I said, since her husband died. And so there's a lot of juxtapositions, a lot of opposites, a lot of parallels, and so I think that's really clever part of this movie. I think there's a lot of clever stuff in it that is covered up by a lot of corny stuff, and the corny stuff can affect the cleverness of the actual story and make it look rubbish. Because some of it was amateur acting and stuff like that, but the actual core messages I thought were very good. So anyway, what happens is Channing Tatum plays a cover model for Sandra Bullock's character. So Channing Tatum doesn't play himself; he plays an actual character in the film, who's a cover model for Sandra Bullock's character. And at this particular point in the beginning of the film, Sandra Bullock needs to do a book tour as her character. And so basically that was very, very interesting because I've done blog book tours before, like virtual tours of my book. I've done some of that, but I haven't done an actual in-person book tour. So it's very interesting to see how they would set that up, how they would make the book come to life, how they would get the audience involved and stuff like that. So what they did is they got Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum in the room together. Sandra Bullock's character was obviously in character, and then Channing Tatum's character was the cover model for her book. And so all these women were kind of throwing themselves at him and saying how much they loved him and how amazing it was, and they, it made their life really exciting to see him in person. And so her publicist was there, her publicist and promoter, Sandra Bullock's character's publicist and promoter was there. And she set the interview up for both of them, if you like, on stage. So that would help with the publicity of the book, for the book tour, to get more sales, basically. And Sandra Bullock's character announces, actually on the stage, that despite, what's in the book, she has to she's a sapiosexual. So she experiences sexual attraction through intelligence. And so she was trying to say that just because the book's like a certain way doesn't mean to say that it's easy for her to fall in love or easy for her to be sexually attracted like her characters because she's sapiosexual. That was the point of it, I think. I'm pretty damn sure. So that was the point. And then what happens is she's so fed up with life that she says to everyone, I'm not sure there's going to be another book, to be honest with you. And that's the worst thing you can say in the middle of a book tour, because obviously you want people to buy your books and people look for another next series and you don't want to disappoint them. So the last thing you want to be saying is about the fact that you might not even be writing any more books. So she really mucked that up. And then when Channing Tatum's character is on stage as the book cover guy of her book, he's got this really long wig on, really long hair, and she gets hold of she catches a bracelet or watch or something on his hair, and she pulls it off, and everyone's shocked that he got a wig and he's really got short hair. And so he's kind of, and then he falls off the stage. So it's kind of like, she don't really care about him, but she feels he's just full of appearances. That's all he's worth, nothing more. All it is to do with him is appearances, and that's all she sees in him. She doesn't see the person underneath. And what happens is she gets fed up, and anyway, she really mucks this up, obviously, with what she said about the fact that, she basically she's not sure if she's going to write any more books. So her promoter publicist is like trying to speak to her afterwards, saying, the way you can make this up and make things better is if I've got you an interview lined up with your cover model, and you're both going to be interviewed together and in this other room. And instead of going to that, she wanders off and goes out, and so basically she doesn't want to do it. And the cover model runs after her and just or walks after her, and he's saying, we can do this. And she's like, but I don't want to. Anyway, she goes outside. She has a bit of a kind of little scream, knocks something over like a dustbin, which is out of character for her. And then she calls for it, she sees a taxi and says, oh, hi, is this a taxi? And gets in. And she shouldn't have got in because she gets kidnapped. Now, there's a guy, Daniel Radcliffe, who is Harry in Harry Potter, and he is in this movie, but his storylines are not good. It's pretty amateur acting on his part, I have to say. The character is pretty unbelievable at times, and you can just tell it's acting, and it's a shame because he's meant to be the baddie and he's meant to be the the kidnapper, and he's so bad, but he doesn't really come across as that bad. It's pretty lame, some of the storylines they gave him. That was disappointing. But anyway, he kidnaps her with these other guys, which are bodyguards, and he tries to get her to read a script, like an ancient script, because for one of her books she had to be able to do this and learn the transcription language, if you know what I mean. So anyway, she refuses, and he then decides to put morphine or something on her, knock her out basically as a sedative, and put her on a plane and fly to this island where she needs to decipher the script. Channing Tatum's character actually cares more about Sandra Bullock's character than she realizes, because although he's her cover model, he does have feelings for her romance. He cares about her. He doesn't really want to admit it, but he likes her much more than just his basically the character that's been written as him. And so anyway, he goes after her, and then it's really weird because at this point there's Brad Pitt, who he goes to see. Brad Pitt's character plays a long lost friend or something of his. It was a bit weird. And but he's got the ability to be an investigator and use weapons and kill people and stuff like that to protect, and he's designed to find people and protect them and ward off the baddies and everything. So anyway, Channing Tatum's character goes with Brad Pitt's character, and they go out to this island to try and rescue Sandra Bullock's character, and it requires Brad Pitt's character to go around killing quite a few people in order to get Sandra Bullock's character, who she's tied down to a chair because they kidnapped her, tied her to a chair, and they've been having her at gunpoint and stuff like that, and they managed to kidnap her on the chair, which is a very hilarious scene. So there's Brad Pitt's character, Channing Tatum's character, Sandra Bullock's character. They're all in this car together, very, very small car, and Sandra Bullock's character is basically sat on this chair still tied up, but pushed into the back of this car. And it is really, really, really hilarious. But the problem is, what I wasn't expecting is that, Brad Pitt's character's brains are blown out. Someone kills him very early on in the movie. And I was like thinking, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. I thought Brad Pitt was going to be in predominantly a lot of the movie as well, but he wasn't. So that was quite a surprise. And then when Brad Pitt's character was there and Channing Tatum's character was there, Brad Pitt's character was meant to be all kind of manly and, easily kill people, easily rescue Sandra Bullock's character and be the man and be strong, whereas Channing Tatum's character is meant to be quite like weak, I guess, by those kind of like comparisons, and it's supposed to like not be able to kill people, not really be able to even knock anyone out, not really like violence, be quite sensitive towards things, and in some ways people would either call it weak or they might call it a bit feminine. I don't like either of those terms in terms of like trying to say a bloke's weak just because he shows his like sensitive feminine side and he's not as manly as others, if you know what I mean. And so anyway, so Brad Pitt's character gets blown to bits basically, and then the blood ends up going on Channing Tatum's character's t-shirt, and he realizes that he's going to have to try and save Sandra Bullock's character by himself and be brave, which he's not really been throughout the beginning of the film. He's more been nervous and not being able to take, not being able to do what he needs to do to help her. And anyway, basically they end up in this island, this jungle together. And as the film progresses, Sandra Bullock's character basically is quite apprehensive about Channing Tatum's character. She's on edge about him. She's like constantly reminding him, you're not the person in the book. That character is just fictitious. You do know that, do you? Like you're just my cover model. And she kind of puts him down a lot. And like he says, of all people, he never thought for a minute that she would be the one to judge a book by its cover, but that's exactly why she's doing, what she's doing. And he's like, oh, you don't even know me. She's like, of course I know you. I know you're a cover model and you appear in my book and I've written this character, but it's not real. And he's like, but you don't know the real me. And she's like, yes, I do. And he's like, try and describe the real me then. And she tries and she can't really, because she doesn't see or didn't see the guy that's in front of her. All she saw was a cover model and thought he's like preening himself, and he hasn't even got any personality or anything about him. And she was kind of discarding him. So throughout the movie, there's kind of like a number of role reversals with those two, whereas Channing Tatum's character is like the damsel in distress character, which he even made reference to. So it's kind of like sometimes Sandra Bullock's character in the movie is like the strong, more in control, powerful, dominant woman. And at other times, Channing Tatum's character is one that's like encouraging her to be herself and to stay calm and but also to go on an adventure, because she's not been on an adventure in her life for years since her husband died, and so this going through the jungle, being held at gunpoint that a lot, is very good for her in this. Well, that bit's not good, but when they get away and they're going through the jungle together, the whole thing's an adventure, and it's kind of exactly what she needs as breath of fresh air in her life, because she's been stuck and stagnant for years. And so throughout the movie, there's kind of like role reversals off and on. There is a scene of nudity where Channing Tatum's character is naked, completely naked, and you see his bum in the water and she's picking leeches off his bum. I don't usually look at bums, but I guess people would think it's a nice bum. Like, smooth and nice colour, I guess. Like, I don't know what else to say about that, really. Probably people would think it's a model butt, but I guess that's the point of the cover model thing he's meant to be. But I thought it was good that they showed a guy naked instead of a woman naked. I thought that was really good, because I'm fed up with seeing women naked all the time, and it's like, you know what I mean? There's no men naked. Not that I'm saying I need to look at men naked, because I don't, but I just think it's more equality, And so, yeah, it was quite interesting. There was one bit when he was pushing Sandra Bullock's character up a cliff, and he was putting his head up in between her legs, which is a bit sexual, obviously. But she's kind of like, what are you doing there? And he's helping her get away from the bad guys. So throughout the movie, you see the fact that she's not meant to be that attracted to him because she doesn't see any intelligence in him. She just sees him as a guy preening himself like a bird, basically, and she can't really relate to him. And so there is a lack of chemistry between them, I think, but I think that's done on purpose throughout most of the movie because she's not meant to be sexually attracted to him, whilst ever she can't see any intelligence in him because she just thinks he's like a pretty face. And so that was a big part of the movie. And so as the movie progresses, she finally begins to understand that he's more than just a cover model, that in the books, they romance in her books and other romance books. They all think that, like, these really dangerous situations are so romantic. Because at one point in the movie, towards the end of the movie, they end up in a coffin together, and they're literally got their bodies sprawled across two skeletons. And she's like, oh, people think this in romance novels is really romantic, but I can tell you now it isn't. So it's like an illusion. And so I thought that was a really good thing to bring home the fact that, fiction is, and all these kind of wild fantasies and adventures that people go on sexually, are very fake. And it's not that romantic. It's just romanticized. And really the true beauty is not about fiction. It's about what's in front of you in fact. And, that's the whole point of the movie, is that she ends up seeing him as not just a pretty face, but also got real substance to him, and that he himself as a person is better than his character, even though his character is supposed to be portrayed as Mr. Perfect, looking great, fabulous, great for any woman, love God or whatever, you know what I mean? And so when she finally realizes that the guy in front of her basically loves her towards the end of the film, it's kind of a revelation for her that she never even saw him for all this time. And quite a long way throughout the movie, he says to her, of all people, I never thought you'd be the one to judge a book by its cover, but you do, basically. And so I really loved the moral of the tale of the whole movie, which was like, don't judge a book by its cover. Get to know the person and what's underneath them. Get to experience their heart and their feelings, emotions, and their intelligence. And that reality is better than fiction. That a lot of people fantasize and romanticize things that shouldn't be romanticized, if you like, and they forget the true romance and real person in front of them that can give you just as much adventure and love and caringness and fun than the fiction. At one point there was an annoying bit because this woman who was a publicist and promoter was coming after her, trying to find her, and she went to a place where there was planes but they weren't running. But this one guy said, oh, I've got a plane, that I can get you there to where you want to go. And there's a little subplot going on there, really. And he was interested clearly in a romantic and, I'd say, sexual way. And anyway, the problem is when the camera was showing her a lot of the time, especially before she even got to, go near Sandra Bullock's character. Like she's a person of color, and she had like a dress on. She's a big, beautiful woman. Lots of guys would think, but she's got these massive breasts, and the camera was just zooming in on them all the time, and there was more breasts than dress. And it's like, I'm like trying not to laugh at that. I'm like, I can't even see your face. It's just these beaming breasts. I don't like breasts, but and it was just really annoying. It was really annoying. In some ways it was funny because it's like, I'm trying to watch a movie, I can't even see it, but then it wasn't funny because of that reason also. It's just really annoying. It's like, I don't want to see boobs. I do not want to see big mountains, I'm not interested. I want to get on with the movie, but it's so distracting. I found that really infuriating. That was probably the worst thing in the whole movie for me. And And the best bit was basically, you know, the moral of the well, there was two best bits, actually, three, you could argue. One was she said she's sapiosexual, which I thought was good because it's an unconventional sexuality. Some people believe it's on the grey asexual spectrum because they believe that a person can only experience sexual attraction through intelligence, so therefore they can't experience it normally. I've that's what I've heard, but I knew sapiosexual for a while, and I didn't actually know years ago that it was part of the asexual spectrum. I just thought it was a different part of the sexual spectrum. So that's very interesting. But yeah, the person of colour who has the big boobs that I was telling you about, in the end, this guy who helped find Sandra Bullock's character and Channing Tatum's character, you know, at the very end, Sandra and Channing, as their characters, kiss, and their love story, their real life love story, is being read, and this guy is still this person of color, and he's basically implying sex, and she goes, "No, you're just my platonic friend." And so again, that's kind of a reference to asexuality. I thought, you know, because, you know, he was wanting sex, and she was saying, "No, you're just my platonic friend," and putting him in his place. And that's something I don't usually hear in movies. So that's really refreshing. I would say it's definitely an asexual movie to watch in that point of view. Obviously, there is nudity in it. There is people experiencing sexual attraction in it, but the main character has to see Channing Tatum's character for the intelligent guy he actually is, and the kind, caring, loving guy is, as himself rather than his character, you know. And he explains in part of the movie how it's really hard to live up to the aspirations of his character, how it's hard when people just see you as that character, and it works both ways. One is, you know, like his friends, he was scared to tell his friends in case they were going to laugh at him and stuff like this. And obviously then you've got the other side of that flip side where there's women chasing after him. So it's very difficult for him. He was explaining how difficult it is as a cover model, that people think it's glorious, but it's not all it's cracked up to be, you know, because he has to deal with his friends mocking him, and then he's got women throwing themselves at him. So it's got like, one is kind of negative with people mocking him, and one is positive, I guess, with the women after him, you know. And it's very, very unstable for him. And he was trying to describe that in the movie, and I picked up on that because obviously I'm looking for stuff to do with writing. And so, you know, the very, very ending was bizarre, right? So in the very end, on the credits part, so the end of the movie ended with them kissing, and like, you know, the book's available, and they've written their own love story, and they're gonna go and carry on writing their own love story. So that was interesting. And then the credits went up, and I always watch the credits because it always tells a bit more of the story. And then when the credits went up at the end, there was Sandra Bullock's character, Channing Tatum's character, and Brad Pitt's character had come back. And you're like, how can he come back when you've seen his brains blow to bits? And then you've got to guess, is the movie actually real? As in, did Sandra Bullock's character and Channing Tatum's character get together just in the book, and she wrote the whole book, and we saw it come to life as the audience, and really Brad Pitt never died because he can't, because he's an actor, and it's just a book, and that is meant to be the twist, as in, it is still just a book. It isn't real life, but you're led to believe throughout the movie that it is real life, but the characters have come to life, if you like, but as themselves rather than their characters. And so you're left wondering, like, if he's fully intact and his brains, you know, he said, oh, people only use 10% of the brains, so I'm going to use the rest of it, you know, and basically, so I thought it was very intriguing, you know. So I guess I laughed quite a bit for some funny moments as well in the movie. I thought some bits were really funny. So yeah, I guess I enjoyed it overall, but I know that Vanessa was bored with it and thought it wasn't a good film at all, really amateur acting. And I do understand her point of view as well. I think it's perfectly valid, and I can completely understand where she's coming from. If I don't like writing as much as I did, I don't think I'd be able to see as much benefit in it. And also, you know, you really need to understand the moral of the tale is that don't judge a book by its cover. You know, don't just think because someone looks one way on a cover that is how they truly are. And, you know, and find out about the real person underneath. you know, find out what's really going on for them, not just the superficial, artificial view of that person. You know, so, you know, there was so much stuff in there about writing and book promotion. I just loved all that type of thing. I thought it was really good. You know, and so with Brad Pitt's brains being blown out and then he comes back to life, I guess we're meant to think that it was a story after all. And yeah, so you don't know whether Sandra Bullock's character and Channing Tatum's character in real life, in the movie, real life, actually got together, or if they didn't, and she just wrote the book and wrote this version of it. It's very intriguing. Anyway, I hope you found this video useful and helpful. Insightful app. Please give it an emoji. Give it a comment down below. Stick a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And hit that great big bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live right now or post a new video. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.